Here we have Jamie Penrith, and I'm going to say it again. Jamie, at some point you took the leap, didn't you? You jumped in with both feet, and we both know what we're talking about. Here's Jamie Penrith talking about punishment. He gives you a little bit of honesty and then a whole pack of lies. Let's have a listen.
I just want to talk very briefly about something that most dog trainers on social media seem very reluctant to talk about, and that is the word punishment.
They're reluctant to talk about. Everywhere I turn, dog trainers are talking about punishment, aren't they?
Concept of punishment. People say, I don't punish. Here at such and such dogs, we don't punish your dog. Instead, we correct your dog. We guide your dog.
You correct the dog. It's funny. Your buddy Robert Cabral takes to a camera, declares that I don't like the word punishment, I like the word correction, and boom, magically that word went right on through the entire dog training community, from positive reinforcement, purely positive, IGP balanced. What happened? What happened? I know exactly what happened.
We provide direction for your dog, instruction for your dog, discipline for your dog, whatever the word may be.
You see, I don't use reward and punishment. You'll never see me use a treat. You'll never see me use knee collar or prong. People punish their dogs a lot more than they realize. Once you understand what positive reinforcement is, then you realize just how much you're punishing your dogs. Every time you say no, no, no to your dog's desires, that's punishment.
But we don't punish. We don't use punishment. And the reason for that is because most members of the public don't understand what punishment means when it comes to changing behaviour.
And that's exactly it. Now, here's the thing. If you get on YouTube, everything from Zach George, positive reinforcement, purely positive, balance and IGP, it's all shut down behaviors, stop behaviors. That's all they're ever doing. And what does Skinner define that as? Let's have a little listen. Let's have a little look. This is a direct quote from B.F. Skinner's book about behaviorism. Punishment is easily confused with negative reinforcement, sometimes called aversive control. There you go with your aversive tools, okay? The same stimuli are used in negative reinforcement might be defined as the punishment for not behaving, but punishment is designed to remove a behavior from a bloody repertoire. And that's exactly what Jamie's stating in roundabout terms, okay? Now here's the science behind it all. As I said in my last video, what dog trainers did is that they baked the cake with the psychology of Edward Thorndike and methodological behaviorism. They turned around, they iced that cake with Conrad Most, the very father of Schutzhund, which is now known as IGP, and Jamie Penrith is an IGP dog trainer, which means that Conrad Most book is his Bible. That's where the quadrants come from, right, Jamie? Inducements and compulsions, not reward and punishment. I keep asking dog trainers, if B.F. Skinner was openly opposed punishment, then where did the punishment quadrants come from? Why are you blaming him? Because they want that behaviorist label. There's no behaviorist label in Conrad Most. Conrad Most trained German Shepherds and only German Shepherds for the war effort by hook or by crook. And he actually laid out rules for beating your dog into submission using that Schutzhund stick if they get snarky with you. There is no behaviorist label within Conrad Most. But because dog trainers wanted to jump to the behavior ring, they turned around and they blamed Skinner so they can grab the behaviorist label. Jamie Penrith, I'm going to ask you right now, define the word behavior and explain what a behavior is. Because once you do it, you throw your entire dog training career in the garbage. That's the reason why these people will not define the word behavior. Okay? Now, B.F. Skinner openly opposed punishment. Let's have a little look, shall we? What did he say about punishment? Look at here, the first word, for one line, blows Jamie out of the water. Punishing contingencies are just the reverse of reinforcing. Let's read that one more time. Punishing contingencies are just the reverse of reinforcing. They do not work. Punishment doesn't work. It's not reinforcing shit. If you go down to the bottom, a punished person or animal remains inclined to behave in a punishable way, but he avoids punishment by doing something else instead, possibly doing nothing more than stubbornly doing nothing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is called learned helplessness by definition. People punish your dogs in ways that they don't even understand. You punish your dog for doing something good. You punish your dog for doing something bad. If the dog wants to chase in one area but not the other, and you let them chase in one area but not the other, at some point they're going to go, am I going to get punished for this behavior or not? So they shut down and they learned helplessness.
They think of it as being synonymous with beatings or thrashings or severe deprivation.
That's what Conrad Most called compulsions in his book, isn't it, Jamie? He laid out rules for beating a dog into submission. But you don't want people to know that. These trainers do not want you to know the name Conrad Most. They want you to know the name Skinner, but they don't want you to read either of these books.
Or pain or fear or harm or...
Punishment doesn't cause fear, does it? Stop and think about what he's saying there, ladies and gentlemen. He's telling you point blank that punishment isn't causing fear and it's not causing any other problems. But yet punishment doesn't work.
Distress or injury, that sort of thing. Whereas the reality is, punishment simply means a reduction in behaviour. And
And that's exactly roughly what Skinner said. Punishment is designed to remove a behavior from a repertoire.
You use a punisher, you are basically adding something that you are hoping will reduce, or you know will reduce the behavior that caused you to add that thing or remove.
And what he's calling right now is positive punishment. So once again with Skinner wrote, I think, 21 books and he published 180 papers in his career. Not once in any of his works have I ever seen the words positive punishment or negative punishment. If I'm wrong, somebody please show me. Skinner openly opposed punishment. There were only two quadrants, but the problem was dog trainers, as a result of all this garbage, turned around and they redefined operant conditioning, they redefined positive reinforcement, and they redefined negative reinforcement. What is positive and negative reinforcement? Inducements. That positive reinforcement is actually a primary inducement. That's the treat. If you read the book, you'll understand this. You're trying to get your dog to do something with a piece of food. Compulsion is that you're trying to force your dog to do something.
You can remove good things or you can add not so good.
You see, they call the quadrants a math equation. They're adding and removing things. That's not what Skinner was doing. Skinner wasn't a dog trainer. Conrad Most was.
Things as far as the dog sees it. But the fact of the matter is there's nothing personal in there. There's no vengeance in there. There's no emotion in there. You are simply reducing a behavior. And where you're reducing a...
So once again, he's telling you point blank that punishment works. What does Skinner say? Punishing contingencies are just the reverse of reinforcing. So what are you doing, Jamie? Why are you sitting on camera and lying? Because you took that leap, didn't you? You jumped in with both friggin' feet, didn't you?
behavior because that behavior is potentially injurious or life-threatening to the dog.
What is a behavior? It's your body's emotional or instinctual response to something in the environment. That is it. We are all products of our environment, but yet Jamie is telling you to create this tiny world of reward and punishment for your dog to operate and condition itself to. If you did that to a human child, you'd screw them up for life. Okay? The reality is the dog is supposed to get positive and negative consequences from the environment. Monty found a wasp nest one day. He took a bunch of stings that turned into a negative consequence for his own actions in the environment. And that immediately became a negative reinforcement that shaped his behavior to avoid wasp nests. In the same fact, if a child reaches out and touches a hot stove, guess what? It's the environment to punish a child. The negative consequence of a burn is now a negative reinforcement that becomes part of the child to avoid a hot stove in the future. That's how it's supposed to work. But Jamie and other trainers want you to stand in between the dog and the environment and be the only source of reward and punishment. That's not the way it works. If you did that to a human child, it would be classified as abuse.
Some other animal or some other person, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely justifiable. Remember, it's not personal. It's not a thing.
It is personal. When you're punishing somebody, it is personal. You're punishing a dog, it is personal. When I watch dog trainers out there, they got a prong collar around the neck and they're just winding up ready to snap the dog's neck. That's personal.
Thing between you and the dog. It's a thing between you and the behavior that the dog is doing.
Again, he keeps talking about behaviors. They grabbed this behaviors logo because they want they reach into B.F. Skinner. They're blaming Skinner for all this shit. He's not a behaviorist. Any behaviorist should be able to define the word behavior in 10 words or less in a way that people can explain. That's it. But he won't do it. They're all talking about behaviors, but they can't define the word. They're all killing dogs for behavior, but nobody can define the word.
You want to reduce that so that you can increase the things that you want to see in the dog.
You see, it's all about what the trainer wants and what the trainer doesn't want. I'm always asking dog owners, what do you want from your dog? Fuck what the trainer wants. The trainer is telling you got to try to replicate what I'm doing here on a 15-minute video, and it's not possible. What do dog owners want? You know what the response to that is? Not once did I ever hear, I want a trained dog. But yet that's all there is dog training. Not once. And thousands of dog owners, have I ever heard the words, I want a trained dog as a response? What gives? All they want is a calm dog they can take anywhere. When they stop and think about it, all they want is a calm dog they can take anywhere. And that's easy to create. They don't give a shit if the dog is sit on command. All they want is a best friend.
That's what punishment is all about. It's about reducing behavior. It has absolutely nothing to do with levels of fear, pain, distress, stress of...
Really? What is learned helplessness once again? A punished person remains inclined to behave in a punishable way, but he avoids punishment by doing something else instead, possibly doing nothing, not more than stubbornly doing nothing. That's not a stressful situation for a dog. The dog is sitting there going, am I going to get punished or not? That doesn't generate stress. That doesn't generate fear. What are you talking about, Jamie?
Avoidance or anything else. It's whatever is necessary to reduce that behaviour
There you
from
go.
happening.
There you go. Punishment by hook or by crook. This is Conrad Most coming out now, wasn't it? And I can only imagine what I'm seeing dog trainers do on camera. They're punishing dogs. They're abusing dogs on camera. I can only imagine what goes on when the cameras aren't running. And there's no alluding to nothing there.
Again, the likelihood of that behaviour from happening again. So when you hear social media dog trainers saying, we don't use punishment, we only use corrections.
And right there, once again, Robert Cabral gets him online, does a live. I don't like the word punishment, I like the word correction. And all of a sudden, magically, boom, it's gone right through the dog training community. And it's funny how it started with Zach George, eh? Isn't that funny? All of a sudden, right through the positive reinforcement, purely positive, balance and IGP. Correct the dog, correct the dog, correct the dog. That's all I ever hear now. Stop the behavior, shut down behavior. Zach George, he's out there screaming, shut down the behavior, stop the behaviors. That's removing the behavior from a bloody repertoire, correct? And isn't that exactly what Skinner said? You're removing the behavior from a repertoire, and it's by definition punishment. So what Zach George and the rest of these trainers are doing is exacting punishment on the dog, but people don't realize that.
You need to ask those dog trainers, and what is a correction? What are you doing? When you add something that you consider to be a negative experience for the animal, if your purpose of adding that is not to reduce the behaviour that the animal was doing at the time, so that you can then go on and teach it more appropriate alternatives, what is?
You see, he's treating the behavior like a condition that you can fix. That's the reality. A behavior is not a condition you can fix. If a dog is in pain, they start showing behaviors as a result of pain. Why are you trying to shut down the behaviors as a result of pain? Once you fix the pain, guess what? The behaviors as a result of pain won't need to exist anymore. This is called extinction. It's the same with a dog that's in a state of fear. The dog's aggression and reactivity is the actual fight and flight response to the fear. But yet you're out there shutting down behaviors, stop the behaviors. You're punishing the dog to get rid of the behaviors. Why are dog owners not focused on the fear? If the behavioral outcomes are a result of the fear, when you fix the fear, when you understand what a dog is afraid and you help the dog get past the fear, the behaviors as a result of that fear don't need to exist anymore. This is called extinction, right, Jamie? But you don't want people to know this. Why?
The purpose for you adding that experience? And the answer is either the dog trainer doesn't understand what punishment means.
There's Jamie at Penrith. Look in the mirror, buddy. You don't understand what punishment is. Punishment is removal of positive reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is the removal of positive reinforcement. Applied negative reinforcement is called punishment. What is positive reinforcement but the removal of negative reinforcement? And once you understand that, ladies and gentlemen, you will never hire a dog trainer ever again in your life.
They don't understand what they're actually doing at that moment.
This guy doesn't understand what he's talking about. I'm giving you all the science. He's bullshitting you. Why?
Moment in time, how they're trying to affect a change in the behaviour of that dog. Or the dog trainer knows exactly what they're doing, but they're trying to flower it up and disguise it as something else.
There you go. You just defined exactly what you're doing, Jamie. You're trying to flower it up and disguise it as something else. That's all dog trainers are doing.
To make it sell better, to make it
sell better. There we go. Now we're getting into the PCG, right? You know what those initials stand for, don't you?
Sound better, to make it appear more inviting.
There you go. He's exposing himself. He's making it sound great. You know what? Just punish the dog. Just correct the dog. That's all dog trainers are doing. They have no idea what they're telling you. You have no idea, but the dog owners have no idea what they're doing, and they're wondering why this whole system of dog training ain't working. Have a good day. I've had enough of this shit.